Welcome to Life After W-2. I'm your host, Jon Chan. After 17 years in corporate America, I made the leap to build my own business. It was messier than I thought it would be, but also full of valuable lessons I didn't know I needed. This show is about sharing shifts in mindset, pivots in strategy, and personal changes that come with pursuing financial freedom. You're not alone in this. We're all figuring it out, one step at a time. Welcome to Life After W-2. In this episode, I sit down with Ashli to talk about how success really happens through growth, struggle, and the choice to be ready. We dive into embracing the journey, keeping things simple, and using financial literacy and creativity as tools for lasting success. Hey, Ashley, so glad to have you back.
Oh, John, I'm so excited to be back. This is going to be so great.
I want to hear more about your story and mainly about this transition from your W 2 life into your life now, because I'm assuming it's completely different, or not really, right? But can you tell us a little bit about your W 2 life, what you're doing at your day job?
So, this is what's so funny is I have a lot of versions of this W2 story, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I before I had kids, I worked at a regular just W2 doing administrative assistant work and stuff like that. And then after I had kids, I still worked, but I worked from home and I was doing, virtual education production and I was doing language teaching and all these other things. And then when my husband and I decided to jump into the entrepreneur boat, it was like a hybrid a little bit of what I had been doing before at my U2 stuff, but now it was just like this there wasn't as many boundaries. There was like not a lot of lines everywhere and it was so confusing at first because I kept acting like there was boundaries and lines there even though they weren't there anymore. So that's kind of like my past W2 moving into what I do now, which is really just focusing on lots of different entrepreneur concepts of education, education, course building for people who have expertise in lots of different things, lots of different spaces, and then still doing real estate stuff as well.
Very cool. So it sounds like you kind of jumped around. And then what made you decide that you no longer want to be bound by the 9 to 5?
Man, I still remember that conversation with my husband where he was working at a university in Phoenix and I was still working part-time jobs at home. And we just had this moment of, is this all that there is for us? Is
Hmm.
this it? And if this is just it, are we happy? And we were not. We weren't like we were, my husband was in a managerial position at his job and I was in like the fields and areas that I had studied to be in when I was in college and we were I don't even want to say content. I don't know if there's even really a word that could describe where I'm like, I'm satisfied, maybe, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then we turned around and realized, okay, we've worked in this ballpark for a decade and we have our kids and we have this home and we're just doing the pattern. We're doing the thing every day. And is that what we want to do for the next decade? And it wasn't. We weren't thrilled about the idea of just doing the same thing every day in this pattern. And we were like, okay, well, what if something changed? Like what if something changed in our pattern? What if we did this in a different place? Would that make us happy? Maybe. What if we did this pattern with a different job? Would that make us happy? And after all of those different kinds of conversations, we boiled it down to a couple of things. Number one, we didn't have enough clarity on what it was that we were looking for that was going to make us happy. And
Mhm.
number two, that the W 2 path didn't have what we thought we needed as foundations for our happiest version of life. And so we took the leap and we decided to sell our house and walk away from our job and we kind of started tackling everything at once. I wouldn't recommend that, guys, because it's a lot, but we started moving to all these different places. We homeschool our kids and we started dabbling in lots of different kinds of entrepreneurial things, real estate, teaching, running a business, doing different kinds of businesses, like all these things in a matter of 6 to 10 months. I mean, obviously the moving part, that took the last couple of years before we finally found a spot that we were happy, but I remembered making that leap and not really realizing what was on the other side of that leap, but also realizing that the pain of staying in that pattern that we had built for ourselves up to that point, although it wasn't bad. And for most people in our families, my husband and mine, that's good. Pattern is good and healthy and great for them. But for us, it was starting to turn into something unhealthy because we didn't have enough satisfaction or enough happiness. And so we had to take the reins, and so we just jumped.
Yeah, that's super surprising. So I mean, it took 6 to 10 months to make that transition, which I think is a lot faster than most people. I think it took me 3 or 4 years to do that, but I just kinda did things very sloppily. You did, like, a huge drastic change.
Yeah, we did. We burned the boats. Like, we tell people that in the sense that, like, when we decided to sell our home and move out of state, we lived in my parents' basement. Like, we had plans. We had things that we were like, "Okay, we have 3 kids. We can't just wing it." So we did have some foundational things in place before we took the leap, but the just, like, face slapping part of that entire leap was that you can't know everything. You
Mhm.
won't. If you're trying to make a leap like this and you're trying to plan for everything, let me just save you many hours of research. You're not gonna know everything, and it's like, that's when everyone says being ready is a decision, it's not a feeling. It's never gonna happen. You're never gonna feel ready. But, so I was like, I have to know that we have somewhere to stay. I have to know that we have at least this much savings in place to get through some type of transition because I didn't have all the answers. And in the moment of taking that leap, it was actually the primary plan to have my husband focus on all of the entrepreneur stuff
Mm.
and to have me just continue to maintain the house and the kids and do school and then still do my one of my jobs on the side because it was remote. So, and then that all changed within, I don't know, 2 months of taking the leave. Everything changed and we went to a contingency plan and then it just built out from there.
So it just kinda sounds like you had a plan, like a rough idea of a plan. You had a place to stay, which is huge, right? Because then you don't have to pay for a mortgage, and then I'm assuming when you sold the house, that was part of the nest egg to kinda keep you afloat for a while?
Yeah, so I mean, I love getting into the nitty-gritty of financial moves like this because there's a lot that goes into them. So we had a ton of student debt. Like we had so much student loan debt because we both went to school to be teachers. My husband's a first generation college graduate, so he didn't know exactly what he was doing. He had tons of loans. I didn't have as many, but I still had some because I mean, we were like poor college students trying to get a job as teachers. In case you guys don't know, teachers don't get paid that much. And so we still had that student loan debt that we were trying to just whittle away at. And so we made a bold move of like instead of financing old dreams, we wanted to just be like, here's our priority. We're going to have this savings. It's like our peace of mind money where I'm like,
Yeah.
we could make it for this many months on this amount, and then we're gonna take the rest of it and try to get rid as much debt as we can. So then now, I mean, this is business 101. Now that I look back at it, I just didn't realize that where I'm like, "Okay, we're cutting our costs, keeping our
Yeah.
expenses down as low
Yeah.
as possible,
Mhm.
and we're gonna try to generate as much revenue as possible." That's business. And so
Yeah.
we kind of tried to find that middle ground of we need to keep some of it so we can figure out what's on the next page. And I don't want to deal with these high, no, they weren't like high, but it's like, it all adds up, all this debt that's from my old life that I'm really trying to just completely cut off. So we did kind of like half and half, I guess, on that
Gotcha.
side of it. And even though it is really great to have a place to stay, we actually still ended up, we still paid rent. Like we still treated
Mhm.
it like we're renting this place, we owe this money and all this other stuff. And it gave us the full experience of you gotta get creative
Mhm.
when you're like in survival mode trying to make stuff happen, and it's not a luxurious phase. Most people I think that you'll talk to who make this leap, it's not a luxurious leap. They're not like, "Yeah, I went and rented a bigger apartment because I decided to leave my W-2." Like nobody
Mhm.
says that. It's usually everybody downsizes, everybody, like, cinches their belts and just compacts, and so that's really what we did. We had all 5 of us living basically in 2-bedroom we had 2 bedrooms. We had all 3 of our kids in this super tiny bedroom, and then my husband and I were in the other bedroom, but I also worked in that room, and then we had, like, a little living kitchen space. Like, it was tiny, and we
Right.
made that work for a year and a half, so
Right. It's a tough transition to leave a steady paying job, to get into chasing your dream. I don't think people will understand that because whenever I thought about leaving the W-2, it was like, well, I'm gonna completely replace my W-2 income before I even make that decision, but that's not how it worked.
I mean, I would love if it worked that way. If anybody
Yeah.
knows how that works, like, share that with me because I feel like I still haven't figured but, I mean, yeah, everything when you're making big, bold moves like this, everything sounds great. All the ideas are great. I can emotionally justify lots of things,
Right.
but, like, the numbers are the numbers,
Well,
and the paper is the paper, and it comes down to, like, the tax, and that's what it is, and, that's in those moments when it's just messy and it's still a win, but it's messy, you know? That's when you start seeing that, like, the sacrifices or the hard decisions or just, like, the unglamorousness of it all is worth it.
yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that period is when you learn the most too because you're just trying to survive.
Yes, most of the time, you're just trying to survive. Let's be honest, John.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, most of the
when
time.
you made that leap, how much of the I mean, out of 100, how often did you feel like you were in survival mode, like, percentage?
Oh, I would say a large majority of the time, and I'll say, "I know I'm not doing this the right way, but I have to do this." Like, I have to do it.
Yeah, that was us too. I mean, I would say even I've only been starting to recover from that mentality in the last year,
And how
like
long ago did you leave your W?
4 years ago.
Wow.
But that's the thing is it's like it's a phase. It's a stepping stone platform. It's not something where you just magically wake up one day and you're like, I have the income and the revenue that I want to have. I have the business I want. I have the house I want. I live where I want. My family's safe and secure and happy. Like that doesn't just happen overnight. It's a stepping stone process of like, okay, I am not drowning in information overload in whatever area of entrepreneur stuff that you pick.
Mhm,
Yay, that's a stepping stone. I'm not drowning anymore. Next is now I'm strategizing. Now I'm owning this. Now I'm making money. Now I'm getting a place where my family, I talk to my husband where my husband and my kids, I feel like they're shareholders
mm,
in our business because they are totally footing the bill of all of the things that we've been doing, like emotionally, financially, psychologically, all of those things where we're just to the point now where they're getting to enjoy the benefits of the things that we've put into place for the last couple of years. But up until that point, they were 100% investing in it just like we were.
yeah. So just out of
You feel like
curiosity,
that with your kids?
I mean, I don't really tell them much about what is it that I'm doing, but I mean, I think most of it has to do with because I internalize a lot of it. It's not their problem, right? These things that I'm
Yeah.
going through, the stresses that I'm going through, it's not their problem. It's my problem because I made this decision. Yeah.
That's such a great point. Okay, so now we're gonna have a discussion now because now I'm over here wondering, I wonder if I had to do it differently because
Mhm.
I'm the mom. And it's like the dads, I could totally see the dads feeling that way and being able to utilize that as their like path of transition, and I think you guys might
Mhm.
even be like slightly programmed to do that with your families. You guys are the warriors. You're like, I gotta go out and I gotta tackle this stuff and I can't bring it home with me, you know? But as a mom, like I feel like so much relies on my state of being and then my kids are over here like, "Mom, why don't you spend time with us anymore?" Like, cuz this needs to be done and right now this is my contribution to this thing and so maybe that's why I had to look at it differently is that I had to evolve my mindset into this is a group sport, it's a team sport, and our family is all a team. Because otherwise, I would eat myself up with guilt with the fact that I wasn't performing the way a mom was supposed to.
But see, it's different, right? The roles are different because you're running a business, but you're also taking care of the house too. So then it's like it's a lot of work. For me,
Yeah,
I mean, I try to help out as much as I possibly can, but then my wife always gives me grace. Like if I have to work on something, she's taking care of the house. And so,
yeah.
yeah, you're definitely in a different spot.
Well, so this brings up a really awesome conversation too. I don't know if I've ever talked about this like publicly, but where when my husband originally started out being the entrepreneur. This wasn't part of my plan. And
Mhm.
then we got to a position where funds were getting low. We had tried multiple avenues and they weren't working or bringing results as quickly as we needed them. So there was an avenue that I could pursue that was for the real estate stuff, and it really was this moment of how bad do I want this? Do I want this bad enough to chase that and take over the reins and try it out for me? And I was like, sure, yeah, let's do that. I don't have anything to lose. And so my husband and I actually completely swapped roles.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what's weird? Sometimes I wish that we would swap roles,
You
myself
know,
or my
I
wife.
used to. I used to think that, and my husband used to too. We used to have conversations, especially when we
Mhm,
like took the leap and left our W-2, where it's hard and
mhm.
everyone thinks the other person's hard is easier. And it's
It's a
not,
different type of
it's
hard.
not, it's a different kind of hard. They're all hard. But so yeah, for probably the last, I don't know, at least the last year, my husband and I have both been doing businesses. And so, but before that, so 2.5 years, my husband was the stay-at-home dad. And he was homeschooling our kids because he was trained as a teacher too. So we both like we could swap. He was
Yeah.
homeschooling and he was managing the house, and I was building the business and running the business.
Is that how you imagined this would work out when you both left?
No, I was not planning on doing that at all. I was like, "I'm gonna just keep doing my thing, no big deal."
Mhm,
And then, maybe like 6 months after we had jumped in was when this all happened,
mhm,
and it was a last resort kind of a thing before we were seriously talking about going back to doing W-2 stuff just to, like, play the game what you had talked about where I'm gonna build a side hustle while I do my W-2. We were like, "Maybe we shouldn't have burned the boats. We should
mhm.
have done this." But, like, we had nothing to lose, so I jumped in, like, completely, and we got it to work out, and it did great, and I have really awesome stories about that, but, you know, I I've definitely adapted my mindset on W-2s from when we first started where I thought I had to cut it. I thought it was like cancer or something,
Mhm.
where I was like, I can't go pursue this passion and this dream and this different like pattern for me and my family if I still have this dead weight thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's paying all
But
the bills.
yeah, but then at the same but going through all the stuff that we went through, I've adapted this mindset of like, no, it's not like that. I wasn't able to see the bigger picture of the fact that like, no, I'm you can build a very successful business and work a W-2 if that works out for your situation and your personality, because it's like it really comes down to what you are able to function with. And in
Mhm.
that moment, I wasn't able to function with working for somebody and trying to work for myself. I couldn't do it. Now I could if I had to, because I've got a more elevated mindset of what's actually happening instead of just like taking everything at face value.
Yeah, but how funny is that, right? You have this thing that you wanna escape the W-2, but then at the same time, you look back at it like, "Well, if I had to go back to work, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the."
Yeah. For the first couple of months after we, like, took the leap and did that, I did think it was the worst thing in the world. I was
Mhm.
like, "No, I'm, like, signing away my soul. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that." But then when you go through the full spectrum of situations that come with taking a leap like that, you realize it's not the end of the world and you were just not seeing the big picture and like, no, you're nothing's going to happen if you go back and do that. You would just have to have that clarity and like that intention for you so that you can keep focused on the moves and the momentum that you want to do. And I didn't have that
Mhm.
when we first started. I didn't have that clarity to where I could be like, okay, this is what I'm doing now, so I can do this later. I didn't have
Mhm.
that. I didn't.
It's really I mean, just so many points that now that I've gone through this make ton of sense. Yeah, you need to know exactly. I know it's super difficult, but you need to know what it is that you want to do in this post W2 life. Otherwise, it's just going to be extremely painful.
Oh my gosh, can we talk about that some more?
Yeah, go for it.
So I feel so we've been doing this entrepreneur life for like 4 years
Mm,
almost. And when we first started, I was like, real estate. That is the thing and it's going to be
mhm,
amazing and it's awesome. And it is amazing and it's awesome, but it's also not my passion and it's not my purpose and it's not the thing that I'm like going to end up doing forever. And in the last couple of years I've been like, but I also really like this, and I'm able to take skills from my W-2 life and skills from my real estate life and go and try to do this new thing, and I feel like that I feel like I feel like when I went to college for the first year and I changed my majors like 7
mhm.
times, and everyone's like, "Well, you just make up your mind, please." And but that's I love the point that you made of it's difficult for people to know exactly what they want to pursue. And sometimes, and I wish I could go back and tell myself this, I should have dabbled a little bit more in these different arenas while I was in my W-2 so that I could really start to sort through me and what I wanted.
Yeah. I mean, that is amazing advice because I'm in the same spot where it was real estate and that's all I cared about, all I want to do. But that's just one of the tools. It's not the tool, it's just one of the tools.
Yeah. There's a whole
Yeah.
tool we're in a tool shop, guys.
Yeah.
There's, like, tools everywhere. Hammers, screwdrivers, wrenches, lots of different kinds of tools, and they're all amazing, but you have to find the one that you want to use and that you enjoy using and that helps you build the thing you actually wanna build.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So then, I mean, you made the jump, and then what was that first 3 months like for you? I guess for you, it's a little bit different because you left and then you became like the operator, the CEO of the house, right? But what was that like? So let's just say when you went from the CEO of the house to now becoming the, I guess, the business
Oh my
owner,
god.
what was that transition like?
Oh my gosh. I have like a flood of emotions that when I think back to that time, a majority of it I would say is like a little bit of PTSD because I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never run a business before, never started a business before. I didn't have people in my family that was performing at a level of business that I was expecting myself to perform. So, lots of stress, lots of unknowns, but I mean, we talked about it earlier that it just comes down to survival mode. I would say 80% of what got me through those first 3 months was if I didn't figure this out, we were gonna how was I gonna feed my kids? I wouldn't suggest anybody putting yourself in that situation. It's very stressful, but also, just like it was a go all out kind of a moment for me of this was our last ditch effort on the real estate side to see if this was going to work out. And because we had taken such a bold chance and we'd made some really drastic decisions, I felt like if I didn't find a way to make it work out, that I would have convinced myself that I wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur, you know? The fear of failure was probably one of my bigger ones of I really did wanna be an entrepreneur, and I didn't know any entrepreneurs up to that point. And so I kind of had this delusional mind of, "If I can't make this work out, I'm not meant to be one. It's a sign." And that is so false. If anybody ever thinks that, please understand failure is just a part of the learning process. And if you're going to go and jump into something that's 100% new, be prepared to suck at it. It's like nobody's born like naturally inclined to do something they've never done before. We all
Right.
stink at it the first time. So, those first 3 months, I was sorting through my own expectations, industry expectations, just like this whole new arena that I wasn't mentally prepared to step into because I didn't think I was gonna be doing this. I thought my husband was gonna be doing this, but it was the best 3 months of my life outside of the fact that I didn't get a lot of sleep because I For the first time in my life, I really did feel in control, which feels weird to say because you never really feel like literally I was not in control, but mentally, like figuratively, I was my own boss. I was working when I wanted to work. I was working on what I wanted to work on. And I was fixing all of these things that I had been experiencing with team cultures or processes or any of those things that had driven me crazy. And so it was very exhilarating, but also incredibly agonizing at the same time.
Yeah. I guess it's just one of those things where you have to experience it to completely understand like the highs and the lows. Really, you could be feeling amazing, and then 2 minutes later, just like, what am I doing?
Oh my gosh, is that how your first 3 months were?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was like I know this is the path. I know I'm gonna figure it out, but can it just happen sooner?
Yeah, delayed gratification. It is such an interesting thing where you're like, "This is what I want, but, like, I want it right now."
Yeah. Like I'm ready for it. Like, come on. And then you go and realize, well, you have to go through all the stuff to be the person that you need to be to then handle all the success.
My gosh, that is one of the hardest lessons when you first start out, is just accepting, "I'm not the person I need to be yet, or I would be
Right?
out of this chapter," and just, like, loving the chapter instead of being pissed that you're still in it. Yeah.
And something that you mentioned earlier was like about losing, and this quote like pops in my head is like winners lose the most.
So true. It's so true. Because when you think about here's how I reframe that. Because you're 1,000,000% right, and people it's just so interesting. Because ever since, like, I even just the last couple of years, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and talk to me, and they're like, "How did you do this? What did you do? I wanna do it too." And it turns into, "You're so lucky." And I'm like, "Oh, no. Stop. No, 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 it's not luck." And so when you say winners lose the most, what they're lacking, what they're not understanding is winners lose the most because they're playing. They're playing the game. Winners win because they play. Everyone else is sitting in the stands watching that person play. Like, I believe me, guys, when you lose, it sucks. People notice when you lose until you start winning more than you lose, but the only way you're gonna do that is if you play. And so
Yeah.
everyone's on the sidelines and they're like, "John, wow, he just wins. Just wins." And
Yeah.
John's like, "No, I don't. I lose and I win. That's part of playing the game." And what
Yeah.
they're just not understanding is they're watching and you're playing, and that's the difference.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Such a great quote, though. Put it on your wall, everyone. If you're planning on ever becoming an entrepreneur, that is how you win, is you play the game. Winners
Yeah.
lose the most.
Yeah. Just over and over and over until you don't. But
It's
then even
part
then
of
you still
learning.
continue to lose again.
Yeah. Well, and, like, this is the thing I'm super passionate about as, like, a teacher, is we have such a distorted perception of failure. It is such an essential part of the learning process. You can't learn unless you mess up a couple of times because it's giving you feedback of what's not working so you can adjust to what does work. Are not gonna be at your best unless you mess up every once in a while.
You have to get better. Hopefully by messing up as little as possible, but you still have to mess up to get better.
Yes. Yeah, and
Mm.
it's a refinement process, and it's part of, like, experimenting, It's like, "This works good, but would this work better?" And you have to be comfortable with failing at the potential better option to even find out if it is or not.
Yeah. And you have to try a lot of different things because sometimes the first thing, the fourth thing, the 10th thing isn't what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, what they say something like you're 29 no's away from a yes or something. It's like everybody
Right.
who's ever done anything great, they just never stopped swinging the bat. That's like it's not gonna be a home run every single time.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I'm just saying this is like so many great ideas and concept. I didn't even know we were gonna talk about this today.
Yeah, I honestly didn't either because again, this is the first episode back, but there's just so much that I've experienced as making that transition that and then I know that you have like everybody has a different experience. So I'm hoping that these stories and these little tidbits will help someone else make better decisions.
Yeah, or just feel like you're not alone. You guys go ahead and learn from our mistakes. Please do that. But also just understand you're not alone. These kinds of feelings and emotions and experiences is just part of the game when you're doing entrepreneurship. And you can always reach out to John and I, and we're happy to reassure you that it's not you. That's part of it.
Yeah, all those people that, you see shine very brightly in such a short period of time, it's not always because it's something different. And everyone's got a different journey.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful that everybody has their own experiences, because if it was the same path for everyone, it'd be so boring.
Yeah, for sure. So we're coming up on time, but I just want to get one more question in. So knowing what you know now, what's some advice you'd give to yourself before you made all those drastic changes?
Uh, Before I take the plunge out of a W-2, I would suggest 2 things to my previous self. Number 1 would be to get as much clarity as you possibly can on what is going on with you. Why are if you're feeling unhappy, why are you unhappy? If you're feeling unfulfilled, why are you feeling unfulfilled? I feel like most people suffer from a lack of clarity more than they actually suffer from unhappiness or unfulfillment. They just don't know what is causing feelings, and they don't want to just sit in the pain sometimes. So I would say number 1, get clear, get some clarity, sit down, have the hard conversation with yourself. Number 2 is dabble. I know we talked about this earlier, but just like you need to go and dabble with some stuff. If you're not prepared for the intensity of doing the dabbling after you take the leap, maybe do that before. And that's probably something I would literally say to myself, Ashley, I know you're not feeling happy right now and you're not feeling like this path is going to bring you fulfillment. So you really need to sit down and ask yourself why. And then maybe before you take that leap, you should check out a couple different avenues of what that might look like before you get into survival mode and your stress cortisol levels are at like a maximum high and you're not sleeping and you don't know what you're doing. Maybe you should have figured that out before. What do you think, John? Do you think that's pretty good advice?
Yeah, I think so because I think what happens is we get so caught up in, I want to do this, I want to make the jump, that we start rushing through things. And so because we rush through things, we make bad decisions or we don't make the best of decisions. And so we don't always know exactly what is it we should be doing once we get out, right? The number of times where I've come to my desk and I'm like, all right, well, what do I do now? Like, what's the next step? Like, you want to be productive, but you don't always know when you don't have that set path of this is what I want to accomplish and how I want to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, you tell me what you think where, like, that clarity piece comes in even after you've decided you've dabbled. Awesome, good job. Real estate,
Yeah.
business, laundromats, I don't know, landscaping, I don't whatever you wanna do that helps you feel more fulfilled, you dabble, and then you're like, "Okay, picked my lane because I dabbled, but
Mhm.
now you can focus on getting the clarity in that lane now. And when you have that clarity, stuff like finds you because
Right.
you know what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're just wandering around blindly.
Yeah, exactly. Some stuff may find you if you're just not, you don't have a set path, but it's not what you're looking for. And it end up wasting time because you start digging into it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's helpful after so many hours, such a long time of just like rummaging. You're just rummaging. You're not looking. You're just like sifting. Oh, what's here? Oh, this is interesting, and you don't know what you're looking for and when you find it because you didn't know in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
thank you
Ashley,
so much, John. This has been such a fun conversation. We went all over the place on this one.
yeah, you definitely shared a ton of like really good advice, and I did not know about your story about the life after W-2. So thank you so much for sharing. We'll be sure to have all your socials and everything in the description so people can reach out to you, ping you, work with you.
Yes, please. I'm happy to help share any of my lessons or even just help somebody feel like they're not alone on taking that big leap.
Thank you again. That's it for today's episode of Life After W-2. I'm Jon Chan, and I appreciate you tuning in. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who's ready to take control of their financial future. And if you're curious about how self-directed retirement accounts can unlock opportunities in alternative investing, grab our free guide. It's packed with insights to help you get started. The link's in the description. See you next time.